We pay to go into the scary ride at the show, or the Ferris wheel, or the ghost train, because you want to be thrilled and you want to be scared and challenged. But at the same time, though, you want to do it from the safety of a seat, and you want to know you want to come out the other side. So, the object of this kind of film is purely to scare the crap out of the audience. I started off being a painter. Like, I went to art school for 5 years, and that's what I always thought I was going to be. And at some sort of point, not quite sure when, I just kind of switched and thought that movies are actually, the great art form of the 20th century. So if you wanted to talk to large numbers of people about ideas, then cinema is probably a very powerful tool to communicate with. The script was developed with Scream West at a sort of draft about 2 years ago. I basically had this idea for this character, and the movie was really about what would it be like to be stuck in this incredibly isolated place with the most evil character you could possibly imagine. It was also distinctly Australian. The last draft before this draft was a very big, complicated affair. Within that movie, there was a time where the characters in that film saw this videotape of some of Mick's previous victims. And on that tape was three backpackers, some Swedes and a French person or something. And at the end of writing that very big, expensive script, I again looked at it and thought, it'll never happen, it's too expensive. And then basically thought, why don't I just tell that story?
The day he gave me the script, and it's changed a lot compared to where it is now. It started off a much bigger film. But I read it, and it was like, literally, it was a page turner. I had a friend sitting in a room when I was reading it, and literally I was quoting things from almost every page to him, and he said, "Oh mate, can I just read it? Stop giving everything away." But I was just like an excited little kid reading it. Just thought, wow, this is fantastic.
I really wanted to create a really iconically Australian bad guy in the same way that you have, Freddy and Jason and all those kind of iconic evil bad guys who are essentially, it's the boogeyman kind of thing. We wanted to create an Australian boogeyman.
Quiet, thank you. Turn over.
4 main actors in the middle of the bush with a reduced crew probably allowed us the flexibility and the structure for us to be able to get a project up within a 12-month period rather than really slog at it for 2 to 3 years.
Thanks again for helping us out.
No worries.
Obviously, it would be great to get going as soon as possible.
No worries.
Basically, what we're trying to do is a film that should cost $5 to $6 million and making it for $1.5, which is a massive challenge of its own.
Is this still work in progress, Greg?
Just working out the stunt right now.
Low budget. Cool.
And then we'll stage her getting up just a little bit further on than that. Okay, good.
Yeah, she's facing that way. That's great.
Cheesecloth, man. It takes it so well, the blood, doesn't it?
And then the camera here, pick it up there. So we just need to do a shot of her turn.
I've been working for about 15 years as a cinematographer, and about half of that's been working with film, as in celluloid, and the other half's been working in video, and kind of crossed all extremes, from big budget car commercials on film to 3-man crew sort of stuff.
We've sort of known each other about 5 or 6 years, and we basically did about 3 or 4 really good commercials together in Melbourne. And became good friends over that period, and really just developed a really good working relationship where we sort of understood each other's creative sensibilities and sort of supported each other's working techniques on the set and kind of stuff. So when I came to sort of do my first film, he was sort of the obvious choice.
Hello. Great combinations of cinematographers and directors. There's quite a few notable ones, but it's an integral ingredient to make it work. If you've got a cinematographer working with the director to a point where they're almost telepathic on what they're going to do, you're halfway there.
It's interesting because you know, he shoots a lot of commercials and a lot of documentary material, which is why he was totally perfect for this show, because you know, he's technically brilliant and creatively and aesthetically really tuned into where I was coming from with this movie.
Ah, well, we'll get you out of here quick, smart.
Main character is Mick Taylor. There's definite references to Mick Dundee, who's one of our most popular and recognisable cultural exports.
British, are you?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Ben's an Aussie, though.
Yeah? Where you from, mate?
Sydney.
Poof, the capital of Australia. Ah, just playing with you, Tiger. Never been over there myself.
If you take Steve Irwin, who's another one of our great cultural exports to the States, and Mick Dundee, and you add that kind of larrikin, charming, you know, lovable Aussie character, who is what a lot of people internationally perceive the Australian character to actually be like, and then actually twist that and add the sort of darker side of the rural Australian experience with the sort of the Night of the Malap kind of thing. All those kind of, the much darker people who've kind of been in the press in the last kind of 10 years is the most evil kind of sadistic killers around. There's a really interesting combination for a character.
Best script I think I've read. Full stop. It's no, the guy's a minor genius, working towards major genius.
I mean, he was really enthusiastic about the script, which was great. We had a phone conversation, and then we met and had a coffee, and then within probably 10 minutes, I completely knew that he was absolutely perfect for the movie, and I was so excited. And I can't remember what happened in the second half of the conversation, just because I was so excited. I just thought, I can't believe I found someone who totally gets it.
When I first read it and I knew the depths that I had to go to, and there's nothing nice about this guy at all. I just wondered what sort of strange place I had to go to get into the character.
By the time he came down to pre-production for rehearsals, he had Mick Taylor nutted. He'd grown his sideburns and he'd got the swagger happening and the voice, the mannerisms, and he walked into the production office and he'd just look and go, there's Mick Taylor.
Foxtrot, take 2.
And mark it. And camera set.
And action! Right.
You're not getting. Where would you rather be?
Liz was the really tough one in some senses because it's a hard character. Ostensibly, Liz is like the main character in the movie, aside from Mick. So she had to combine a number of different qualities. It's a really tricky one to cast that kind of character because they can't be too radical or out there or too sort of over the top. But at the same time, though, they have to have a really attractive quality and have an ability to make most people relate to them as a character. Yeah. Cassandra McGrath nailed it. She, you know, made you sort of believe this character in a really interesting way.
Hi. You're about to die.
Whereas Mick is the you know 1950s Australian character. He's like a very old-fashioned kind of Australian guy. Ben is an urban Australian male. So you have these two, an old Australian, you know, the old generation of Australian males and a younger generation of Australian males. And Ben's a vegan, you know, on holidays from uni, just hanging out, loving life, surfing, you know, all about that kind of lifestyle. And that cultural clash was really interesting as well. And it was really interesting how Nathan was cast because I knew him from an earlier film that I was doing that we were going to do together that didn't happen.
Oh, you got that coffee? Piece of shit. Shooter.
In the process of auditioning and stuff, he was busy or I was busy and we never could really get it together. But he does this tape. He sends it in. And it's like the best screen test I've ever seen in my life. It's so brilliant. And you know, of course he got it because, you know, he's incredible.
Yeah, I love romantic comedies and I thought I was drawn to it for that reason, you know.
Okay, now it hurts. Welcome to Time Out with Nathan. We're just chilling out here in a bush. Matt's come to join me. Love an EP. Oh, okay, this could be hard to get out now.
Christy, I'm serious.
Oh, I know.
I can hear you laughing and all that.
What? I'm listening.
We were casting for Christy, and we had someone for that who was cast, and then they finally had to drop out from another commitment. And, you know, God again was smiling on the movie because they delivered Kirsty Morassi. She's an amazing actor. She's a really, really strong, powerful performer.
I always rapped someone wanted to give me a job. I actually, I was meant to be going backpacking overseas by myself. I kind of got to do it, but I died. I was helped by the actors that I was acting with too, Nathan and Cass, you know. It was so much fun.
Both great girls. Both care about their work. They've put up with a whole lot of injuries, you know, breakdancing, you know, lessons one other night with Greg, who's an avid breakdancer. They put a few shoulders, but you don't hear them complaining the next day at work, do you? No.
Yeah, well, you know, working with amateurs, you just got to get above it, and I have, and you know, I've managed to bash them. No, they're very good. I think all three of them, their portrayals are heroic, and they played it so fresh and loving and wonderful and youthful and exuberant and happy, and you know, as I said to them earlier, they just remind me of veal.
One thing Greg wrote in the beginning when we were looking to raise money in the film was to really pitch at people, famous quote from Stephen King, without believability there is no fear. Selling the believability of this film, if the performances weren't there, the film would have fallen over.
Greg has written a fifth character in, and it is the Outback, and he's captured that, especially the Flinders Ranges, which is a haunting place.
The character of the Outback is a very big part of the movie because it's one of the scariest elements of it. One of the basic sort of ideas is if you take some people into a space and then into an isolated place and cut off all their communication, you then laid the groundwork for which thrilling things to happen. The Australian Outback is the perfect place to do that.
Do you want to grab us flight now?
Yep, airport. A17A, take one.
Just upside down, mate.
Inside.
Yep.
Outside.
And clap it.
Wolf Creek shot in a format called high definition video. It's a video format.
I'm going to become the new spokesman for high def worldwide because it is so cool. Essentially, and I had to be talked into shooting high def because I originally wanted to shoot this movie on mini DV and was totally happy to have that degraded image look for the film because we're trying to create a look of captured real events taking place as opposed to big stage sort of sequences. And Will Gibson convinced me. He said, no, look, we really should look at HD, you should really go for it. And I was like, bullshit, you know, just DOP wanking on about image quality and all that crap. And finally, thank God, you know, he won the battle for HD.
I felt that there's so much talent there, and there's going to be so much stuff put in front of the camera. I really want to make sure we were able to capture it. And high def is able to do that. It's a very, very high resolution format, and everything you put in front of the screen, it will see it and it will reproduce it beautifully.
It's just a very liberating way to shoot a movie because you don't have processing costs, you don't have to wait for the results. You go home with the tape that night and chuck it in and say, yep, we got it or we didn't get it.
We're just going to play back what we just did there. Have a look at that.
So for low budget, where you don't have time to go back and reshoot, you make the decisions on the spot, which you have to do if you're going to keep going.
Shotgun mic off Gojo. Shooting cars takes a fucking shitload of time, man. It's all about time. We don't have much of it.
So much shit went down trying to make this movie that to tell you is just a joke. Like, it sounds like you wouldn't believe me. We did 3 location recce's up into Hawker near the Flinders Ranges, and when we first went there was dust that thick, like you put your foot down and the dust sprayed out. This is great, looks like Central Australia, it's fantastic. We went to a location that had not been rained in for 10 years, and I'm not exaggerating. It hadn't rained in that area for 10 years.
You'd be dead unlucky if it rained out here, I tell you.
We rock up there with the whole crew, which we'd bargained, begged and borrowed extra money to try and get extra time to shoot in this location because it was so spectacular. And it started to rain. And we're all standing there looking at each other going, what the fuck's going on? This hasn't rained here in 10 years, and we are standing in the pouring rain. And what the hell is going on?
Shit Creek.
Shit Creek.
And we're right up at it.
I'll take Jody, and we'll just get up there because then we can start shooting.
It sent the schedule, you know, into chaos. We all went mad, running around trying to find new locations.
And coming up on your right, the location manager's vehicle. That was vehicle number 4 or 5, I think, that we lost yesterday in the day from hell. 2 trucks bogged, 1 truck caught fire, 1 span out back there.
I'm in the driest state and the driest continent in the world. Out of 25 days of the shoot, I think 21 of those days we encountered rain.
You know, it was carnage. If the day got lost, the day's lost. It's not like a big budget movie where you can go, oh, it's okay, we'll pick it up in the pick-up shots. There's no pick-up shots.
We went back to the script and thought, how are we going to deal with this? And I think, you know, Greg and I just kind of at the both, almost the same time, realised, you know what, this is actually perfect, because at this point in the story, in the sort of in the arc of the characters and the arc of their journey, this is the point at which it goes from being, you know, a really fun holiday trip into something much more sinister. In the end, it was yet another vibe moment. It was just, you know, it was amazing.
It's been a very interesting 2 days. We have been rained out to the shit, but we've adapted the story. So it's now called Rainy Creek. And no, actually we've just changed a lot of the story to make sure that the characters actually are consistently behaving with what's happening with the weather.
Weather's shit.
What is with this weather?
So we've now made a rainy day and incorporated it. It seems to be working okay.
It's that whole thing about, you know, making a problem into a solution. You know, making a creative choice about what options you have and taking the best one, hopefully, and moving forward, because there's no way we could stop.
We're here. Welcome to Wolf Creek. This is the, I haven't seen this set before. I've seen the designs, planned it out, haven't seen shit. So tonight we're going into the Nick's lair.
Hello, Greg. I'm very well. How are you?
Zani.
Hello, Maddie.
Looks
How are
fucking
you, mate?
awesome, my dear. So that's the torture shed?
No, that's the torture shed.
That's the torture shed.
We've literally put blood, sweat and tears into it. All that blood in the torture shed. It's not fake.
Do that, it's exactly that. Oh no, it's all wrong, it's all fucked.
Move everything around.
Yeah, Jerry over there. It's amazing. Yeah. Look at that. It's just incredible.
Going by
Low budget filmmaking with big budget ideas.
Every single thing here they've put, as, you know, apart from the rocks and the dirt, everything else has been set up. So excited.
Matt, I'd just like to show you our latest prop that I've just secured here in Sandy Creek. There it is.
That's real.
That's my latest kill. That's someone's great grandfather's skull from Central Europe.
And they lent it to you.
And they've lent it to me, and I reckon it's going to look very cool in the Glen Osmond mine site where Ben's crucified.
How did he die?
I didn't ask.
Rob comes from an art directing background, which means that he comes from, you know, production design either comes from conceptual drawing and design or from actually physically making things happen. And when you have a production designer who comes from physically making things happen, their aesthetic is always there, but they also have practical knowledge about how to actually get shit done, which is incredibly useful on a movie that has limited money. And also being a native South Australian, Rob basically knew everything and everywhere, and if you said, oh man, I'd really love to get a, you know, green sort of barrel, he'd say, oh, I know this guy who lives in Thingo, and he'd go and get whatever you wanted.
We did one shot just getting this, and then turn over. We've made a lot of the corpses, some of the gory stuff. That's as well as with the makeup department.
It's a bit of a privilege to have them attached to the film, and you know their contribution is phenomenal. Like you look at the effects, and they're pretty much they're pretty much perfect in the sense that you look back at things that you do and you think, oh, I wish we could change that, I wish we'd have more there or do this. But I look at their work on the film and I just think it's fantastic. I'm really excited about it.
The production design of the film does not look like a low-budget film. At the end of the day, the film doesn't look like a low-budget film on any level because of the quality of the people that the project attracted.
It's just, you know, right.
And what's going to happen to you in there?
Do a bit of pole dancing. Go on, go.
Of course, it's scary. Grappling hooks, blood-coated tools of dismemberment. Very, very scary stuff. Almost ruined my appetite.
Like your lair, mate? Do you like your lair?
Love my lair. It's only like
Gotta love the lair.
Greg's the best director I've worked with since Peter Weir. That's 30 years in between directors. I've worked with a couple of pretty good directors, but he's artistic, he's technical, he's creative, he knows how to talk to actors.
The first thing we'll do is we'll have Kirsty in the Sigma on the A-frame. The camera's going to be looking over her shoulder and looking through the back window. So what we're going to see is John in the States coming up into position beside her. And we're going to be looking out over your shoulder as John comes up, singing his song and doing all these thingos that will surprise us. Singos? I just don't know how to describe this.
Lewd.
These lewd gestures with his tongue.
Lewd.
Greg is a fabulous director in the sense he just gives you the trust, hands the trust over and just lets you run with it and gives you complete freedom in your choices and with your characterizations and whatever you want to make. He just gives you that freedom.
Oh man, he's one of the best directors I've ever worked with. I love Glenn. Greg. I love Greg McLean, the director working on this film.
Gordon, could I grab you in the car for a second?
Yeah. Can't find the hole.
Can't find the hole. I've had that trouble before too.
Story of my life.
Is that kind of better?
Yeah.
Almost like breathe it like this,
Yeah.
and then you jump out. Yeah. And don't worry if it's messy or whatever it is. Put like this.
Jesus. Oh, I'll get a blanket. Get you some help.
Great, fantastic. Brilliant, Gordon.
I guess from my point of view, my job as a director from some degree is basically I've got something in here and I have to get it into your head as fast as I can. And there's no quicker way than saying, it looks like this. Even before I write a script, I sort of will draw a key central image that the whole movie's actually, when I get to the writing stage, actually write backwards from that picture and basically write the script in which that image can happen.
His planning is astounding. I haven't seen anything like it for years, where every shot was carefully storyboarded and listed to the point that every day during the shoot that he'd get the crew and the cast together around the breakfast tables and lay out all his shot listings and say, this is what we're going to do today, guys, and by the end of the shoot day we're going to get it.
When he's on set, he has his team and everyone working towards the same vision as himself, because he has it there for the DOP, for the safety guy, for the actor. And we all get to actually visually see what he's talking about with his little sketches and cool drawings.
Comes out and realises where he is, tears up his t-shirt, sees the predicament he's in.
Scene 158, 162, 162, part D, take one.
Mark it. Okay, and set.
And action!
You look so heroic, Des. I'm going to have to get a shot of you.
Where's Guido? I should get Guido to get a still.
So we're near that tree to your left?
More to your left. More to
Yeah,
your
just
left.
there, mate. Start there. Yeah, that's good.
What do we need these for?
What's going on here, Greg?
Just scene. Okay, smoke's coming through.
Set.
And action.
When the movie goes dark, from then on I found pretty much everything that we did then to be extraordinarily challenging, like so much harder than I thought it would be. I thought it would be a lot easier. I thought it'd be like, okay, great, now we're going to be terrified, okay, great, now we're going to be scared, now we're going to be, and it's all going to be easy, and it's just so exhausting to do it all day long. And you know, I mean, there was a time I was going to pass out from just, you know, doing that all day. Just, I mean, just so much harder than I thought it would be.
She'd done a lot of television, so professionally working with her was really interesting because basically she would sort of nail it first off, because on TV you basically don't have any time, and we had no time, but we had even less time than you usually have on TV. So it was great to have someone like that doing that kind of lead part, because basically she would actually, you know, give you 3 or 4 completely different takes and then move on. It was great.
Yeah, that's not right. This is mine.
John Jarratt's, is a lovely guy. When he took on the character, and it's such, a departure from his natural sort of personality. Mick is a very dark, evil, troubled character, not a nice guy. So to get to that, he didn't shower for 6 weeks. So not only do we notice when he was on set, but you could smell him.
I had to be Mick. From the time I started till the time they wrap, I had to have Mick about me, because John Jarratt just couldn't get there. I just had to stay in his little callous mind.
When we were shooting really intense scenes like the torture scenes and stuff like that, John was so in character that he would talk to me in the character of Mick during the breaks and be yelling at me. Like I didn't call cut at some point because I decided I want to keep it going and get it going. And John wasn't pissed off, Mick was furious. And so he was yelling at me as Mick, and I was going, what the fuck's going on? And later on he comes and said, oh look, I'm really sorry about that, Mick. But he was yelling, like he'd be talking in his Mick voice, like, it was hilarious. I mean, scary because he had a knife in his hand and a gun.
I went into a cafe the other day and I opened the door and this woman looked at me and I went like that at her. And where did that come from, I winked at this strange woman, and so maybe he does hang around a bit during the off hours.
Welcome to the Mick Taylor Cooking Show.
Righto. I'm really a nice guy.
Dressing the pig.
Cute.
It's got Lord of the Flies.
Hang on, that wound's on the wrong side. I need to get mine in here. Hold the knife up there. Yeah, that's the spot there. Right. You ready?
Quiet please.
Rolling. Okay, have another crack just a bit lower. Good. There, yeah, just show me again and set. Yep. Yeah, I reckon we've got it there.
Well done.
Alright,
so what else are we doing now?
Grab the pig.
Is that all we need for that? Take it down the garage, get it cooked up tomorrow.
Will's contribution to the film, people get to see on the screen. He's an amazing photographer. He's a human dolly. One of the other reasons we're moving so fast is because Will, I think we pulled out a dolly once in the entire making of the film, which just doesn't happen.
What he did with the stunt work in cahoots with the stuntman and what he was prepared to go out and do, and within the safety reasons, was phenomenal. He wasn't frightened of anything or attempting anything. The speed he works at is, it's a producer's godsend. He became the rock of the set very quickly, and that remained like that right through.
John's just making a thigh growth.
139, take 1.
Mark it.
for the drama is exquisite. You know, he just knows where that camera's got to go.
Okay. Okay, and set.
And action!
So just quite violent on the first impact, Rick, and then just slowly settling down.
Yep.
And set.
Yep.
Yep.
And standing by. Yep. And action!
Don't, you run this, you're a dead man. You are a dead man.
Go Liz, I say.
Stand by and action!
Is this the Batman and Robin?
How was that?
Certainly had its moments, let me tell you. It's a beast of a car to drive.
Get your arm in, you big blouse.
Early on, I think Will and I discussed how we're going to actually shoot the film and what style we should shoot it in, and we basically worked out that we wanted to shoot it like a documentary from the point of view that we are shooting real events, or more like a recreation of a crime that had actually happened.
Where it's needed, it's got that newsreel look about it, and they're very brave in certain sections. You know, like the car chase stuff is all, you know, close-ups and grills and wide tyres and V8s and.
It's just so all over the place, but it really gives it an energy that you don't. It's often done more with editing in car chases generally, but this also has an internal, within each shot, this really crazy frenetic energy.
And then it all sort of crunches to an end, and you go into that big fat wide shot, and I'll stay away out and have a damn good look at it from afar. And there's so much more chilling the way it's been shot, and it just gets quiet for a minute.
Sitting in the makeup chair, no offence, Jen, right, for an hour and a half every day kind of gives me shits, but that's alright. I think it's because I can't smoke while I'm sitting here. If I could smoke, right, I'd be calm and collected. This is the primary stage of the bruising and battering. This is what I'm going to look like. Can you get that? It's not nice.
Greg just wanted everything real. Like, he didn't want a makeup look. He didn't want. His biggest thing was he didn't want to see any makeup actually on the girls' faces when he got, you know, really tight. Most of his looks are either wide or extreme close-ups.
Jen did a magnificent job at matching that makeup, you know, day in, day out. But you had Kesty walking around at, you know, lunch breaks and tea breaks and so on, and you just couldn't help but look at her and just, you know, want to give her a hug and say, "Is everything all right, dear?" Because she just, you know, it was so believable.
We looked at a lot of forensic books, you know, victims and hideous things that have actually really occurred, and had all different moulds made up, one for bullet wounds, one for puncture marks for Ben's wrists, and then I had just a variety of slips and cuts and grazes and all sorts made up, and because the budget was reasonably low, I just wanted something that was simple and something that the team or Fee or myself could easily run through and do. John's tattoos, I mean, he wanted to be quite traditional. We spoke to him about, you know, that he was a basic kind of man. He'd have one each on forearms, one up here and one here. And as for Nathan's, or Ben's character, Nath mentioned he liked the infinity sign like the 8, and I said, well, let's incorporate that maybe in a dragon. Nathan really wanted another tattoo just to balance out his body. So went for the Southern Cross, Australian and surfer.
I remember the first night in the torture scene, and it was a closed set, and, you know, she's tied to a post, she's got a shirt on, she's bleeding, she's at the hands of Mick, a terrible, terrible man. And she started to scream and cry, and react to Mick Taylor. I remember all the crew and cast that weren't involved in the scene were sitting outside this shed, and everyone was cringing, everyone was sort of, tightening up into a ball, and it was really, really hard to be around and listen.
She was in a hell of a zone for 3 or 4, 5 days, Kirsty, which was quite amazing.
She sort of, she blew us away every day because she was so committed and a really very intense performer, and her work's pretty, she's pretty amazing.
Most of the other jobs that I've worked on, I've never come away at the end of the day feeling, semi-satisfied with what I'm doing, but I feel with this film that I got out of myself as much as I possibly could.
We're here live for Australia's Worst Drivers on film shoots. First time driver, Kirsty Morassi. We don't want to draw too much attention to her. You'll be doing fine.
Or brain matter. That's the key. That's the key.
Bit of drama zones first, but she seems to be getting composed.
Whenever you're ready, Brian. Yeah.
It's about breathing. It's all about breathing. Be the car. I think you're not going to make it in this one, Gordon. I don't think you're going to make it. It's crunch time, ladies, and they know it. But no cracking. They're focused.
Don't make me laugh.
No, not now.
So this is what smoking does to you.
Oh, indeed. Or swearing and drinking and cavorting and chasing women and having your picture taken.
Oh no!
And then it's like,
It's all coming out of this wet stuff. Where's that bullet come from? All you really need to see is that first initial splatter.
I'm gonna see it.
Cameras are set. Here we go. And listening. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Directed double.
Thank you. 3, 2, 1, action!
This is? Yep.
Okay, let's sit.
Can we quickly do Kirsty's here?
Okay, cool.
And obviously we'll see that in the reverse.
Yep. Doesn't matter if that gets blood on it, this green thing. You right, mate?
Oh, well, that's great.
What do you reckon? That's it. Yeah.
Oh, right.
Clearing backgrounds, please. Highway is locked. Checks, any final checks, please?
Let's clear out, guys. Let's shoot this.
Checks on Kirsty, thank you.
4 minutes to go.
Checks on Kirsty.
David Lightfoot, producer. Stuntman brother, Paul Lightfoot. A little bit nervous about him rolling a car today, or?
Oh no, we can carry him and right the spot. No problem,
There's Annie, sister of Paul Lightfoot, stuntman.
You're gonna try and kill my little brother this afternoon.
And it's this man's fault.
As you can see, we're going to roll this car. So we're not on a huge roll. It's only going to be like up or maybe wheel to roof.
In the action is the right-hand rear tyre gets shot out. There's a few swerves, out of control swerves.
Get the charge, bang,
Bang.
swerve the car. Look for your entry point. We're going to go for it.
Yes. Go off, straight line, brake, crank.
As well. Grab,
Handbrake.
grab, lie down. Brake works.
We've done our bit. If it doesn't work, then it's their fault.
Yeah, I think the flip's going to be really good.
Bit of a stunt happening here.
So, Paul, we're very excited. Any last words? I mean, any words you'd like to say?
Go
Go for it. Just make sure you got the music pumping. Oh, David, I'm sure it's going to be wicked. Got a good day for it?
Oh, look, yeah. I just hope to cross out and have to speak to my mother afterwards.
We have speed.
A camera rolling.
A camera is rolling. Mark A camera.
Okay, we're all set. Here we go.
The winner!
Hey! And we are cut. We are cut.
Thank you.
Matt, this cake.
He won't eat it now. It's 2 in the morning.
I'm looking this way.
And these are the prosthetic arms used for the crucifixion scene.
That's right.
What are they made of?
Foam latex.
Great. That's awesome. That's amazing. Gotta go under there, guy. Everyone turn their watches.
It's all about the vibe.
It's all about the vibe.
Hey, who's got the goddamn arm? They look real.
They look very real through this footage.
And rolling and. So that is.
Is that it? No.
Right, is that cool? Do you have that, Craig?
That's a wrap.
Yeah!
Beautiful. Well done.
Everybody, crew, thank you very much for all the work you did on this shoot. The 110% effort was greatly appreciated. And I'd just like to say special thanks to our director, Greg, for getting us through. Greg, well done.
Thank you. You're only as good as the people you work with.
We've made it. We've been walking for days. But somehow we got through. Look, there's more of us. Come on.
Hey, aren't you dead?
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
The Wolf Creek Private Hospital has now closed.
Thanks, Matt. I've never seen an EP work on set like you have. That's great effort. Great. I wish all EPs were like that.
Sleeping? Who's sleeping? I'm going out.
Awesome.
Awesome.
5 weeks, quite an odyssey, but we did it.
Awesome. Based on reputation, Greg and I met with Jason. I reckon within 2 minutes, I think Jason looked away and we've just hit each other. And that's him. This is the guy we want on board.
An opportunity like this doesn't, really only comes along once in your life, and I really didn't want to put it down without being able to comfortably sit here now and say that I gave it absolutely everything I possibly could have. Yeah, Greg was very keen to keep it a snappy sort of MTV generation pace, so that the audience from the get-go were taken into a ride that they had to, sustain in terms of their attention. The tale of the film, as you know, is incredibly intense. Some of those killing scenes, and you have to give it consideration for believability and even audience torture through duration. Are we stringing the audience long enough that they've had enough? It really was quite taxing to cut emotionally. Once you're working with the assemblies and listening to this constant screaming, and I am talking days of 16 to 18 hours of duration of just listening to the same thing over and over, you know, you do look for some sort of mind alleviation, and as childish as it may be, fart gags are incredibly funny in the wee hours of the morning, and so we did get into recutting some scenes with a few farts. I had no concerns at all for our film starting on HD for a 35mm release. I guess perhaps a little bit from previous experience, but also it'd have to be coupled with the security of knowing Marty and Dale from Oasis were really seeing us through, and Marty's knowledge with compositing in HD, because we do have a couple compositing shots, and there's also a few frames that we've kind of added a few little tricks to enhance the story, was a great thing. So I had supreme confidence from my technical background and from knowing Oasis's contribution that we'd have a magic film.
There's these polar opposites are quite sort of thematic throughout the movie. Good, bad, old, young, dark, light, and so forth. The day stuff, when the guys set off on their road trip, it's very sunny, it's very holiday snap kind of feel to it. It's sun shining, it's very warm and friendly. And we kept pretty much that natural kind of colour scheme. But the night reference was very much based on these Bill Henson photographs. And they're very desaturated, skin tones sort of drained of any kind of warmth, although still a lot of texture there. But the other outstanding feature is just lots of black, lots of just nothing in the background.
And I really don't think we need to be talking about that right now.
And that was a really important thematic point that we wanted to kind of have in the stuff that we were shooting at night. That these characters were beautiful, fun-loving, happy, warm characters, and they were drawn into this very, very dark, evil kind of situation, and we wanted to represent that visually.
Every great film has great film music, or has great music. All the great films you think of, what you remember primarily is the experience of the film, obviously, but also the music of the film. We wanted to sort of keep it inside the experience, so the audience wasn't let off the hook by identifying, horror music cues, which would allow the audience to sort of jump outside of it and go, oh, I'm now watching the scary movie where this bit happens. And what we didn't want the music to do in the film was sound like crappy horror movie music. And there's some great crappy horror film music, but we wanted to do something that was particularly emotionally truthful to the character's experience in the film. Telling a scary story is really entertaining, and sitting around and scaring your friends and telling scary stories is great. And it's as simple as that. This movie's sole aim is to scare the living crap out of people, because that's fun from a sick sort of point of view.
He's gone unasked. He's gone now. He's disappeared. He got sucked back into the desert.
Okay, cut, please!
It was cold. He literally disappeared back into the desert.
No way.
Well, he just went down out of shot.